Welcome to States and Kingdoms. Today we're talking about Sting's first solo album, The Dream of the Blue Turtles, released in June of 1985. This was a number 3 hit in the UK and number 2 in the US. It was a recently acquired record for us. We did, in one of our record pickup videos, we did talk about this one.
Yes, and I had not listened to this.
Yeah, and I have, and I am a Sting fan. Let's just get that out there. I'm a Sting fan. So in listening to this record a good few times and preparing for this video, I was trying to approach it in a little bit of a different way. I was trying to approach it as someone listening to it for the first time in 85, only knowing the Police, right? Instead of me, my actual listening to it is already knowing Sting's solo work and a lot of it, most of it, right? Knowing the Police, knowing everything that Sting would do. So listening to this, I was trying to come at it from a little bit of a different angle. My point being...
How'd that work out for you?
Well, let me tell you. Because if you listen to this the way I had previously, knowing Sting's work, you think, yeah, it sounds like Sting. If you listen to it only knowing the Police, if I put on my 1985 hat and I listen to it only knowing the Police and thinking, okay, what's Sting got here? What's Sting gonna do here on his first solo album? Mm-hmm. You know, I think it's a little bit more of a break from the Police than I used to think.
Oh.
There's my point.
Okay. Well, I will say, as someone who had not listened to this, and although I was alive in 1985, I didn't hear it then.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and I didn't, I was just alive. I was still in a half embryonic state, and I looked weird. I smelled too.
No, you didn't.
Still do. Anyway, I was a little bit surprised by what it sounded like. I only knew Fortress Around Your Heart.
And If You Love Somebody, Set Them Free.
I guess I did. Yeah, I've heard it.
You heard it.
But I knew I actually knew that song. I did know that song. I really didn't know any of the rest of the album though. So I was a little surprised by
what's in the middle.
How much a kind of a departure it was. For the first time listening to it, I was like, oh, that's interesting. He went in that direction.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't quite continue what he was doing in you know, on Synchronicity or even Ghost in the Machine, the last 2 albums. He really went in his, you know, a different direction. You know, obviously there is a lot of jazziness on this, and especially the second side has a lot. Mm-hmm. He could have even leaned into that more, which I think would have been a little even more interesting. It has Sting's social conscience.
Sure does.
All over it and things like that, which isn't surprising, of course. And, you know, that it's a fairly chill, musically, album. Lyrically, there's a lot of
I feel like he
angst.
Was yelling at me.
Yes.
Sting, stop yelling at me. I'm not in politics. I can't help.
Yeah, like on the whole album, you know, you do like how many of these songs could have been Police songs? Not that many.
I think there's 2 that Sting could have brought to the Police table, and they could have built up into Police songs. Love Is the Seventh Wave, I think, is one. It's pretty straightforward reggae song. Not too much going on, but I think obviously that would lean into the Police sound pretty easily. And then, of course, I would say Fortress Around Your Heart, the last song, which is definitely, if anybody cares, my favorite song.
Yeah.
And one of my very favorite songs. I've always loved this song. It has the movement. It has like more of like the dynamic kind of structure that I feel like could be a Police song. It's got a little more guitar on it. You know, it's built up in more of a little bit of a rock and roll type style.
I'll always, obviously, Sting writing the songs in the Police. Obviously, I like Sting's songs. You know. But Andy Summers is
He's central
what
to the sound.
holds me there. You know, so him not being on these songs, obviously, I was never interested in Sting, really, his solo stuff.
Well, you don't find him attractive, is what you're trying to say.
Well, you know that growing up at that, you know, in the late '80s and '90s, I mean, you couldn't get away from him.
No,
and I you know, no,
right behind you every time you
there.
turned around.
And
he's always watching you.
Yeah, and you know I mean, I guess, you know, in the '90s, I considered it like easy listening.
Yeah.
You know, as a teenager, it's you know, listening to like much heavier things. You know, even though the Police, I don't know, the Police were like one thing, Sting was another thing.
Well, so 10 Sumner's Tales was such a huge album when we were, you know, young, and I actually love that album. That was, I guess you would say, my first full-on introduction to Sting. Those are the songs that I remember. You know, I have vague memories of other things.
What's interesting, obviously you are just old enough that you do remember these things more from the time when they came out. I really, or
a year or so.
I do, but not as much. And you know, your taste was more eclectic than mine in a way at that time, because I mean, really, I listened to the Beatles and I was listening to mostly guitar-centric things, and of course he loses out there.
Yeah.
You know,
he tries to get rid of the guitar.
Yeah, that's kind of a thing. I mean, even though he's interestingly playing guitar here, he's not playing bass really on this record. I just basically dismissed it, you know. And then he had a couple of songs that were just around so much. Or was it in '99?
Doobie dabba deeba dabba.
Claimed. And you know, things like that. I was just like, I'm not listening. I don't
understand.
You know, I'm not even a huge like.
You're not even the biggest Police fan, so to
no, I'm not. I never was.
Even follow and Sting in any way.
A lot of like listening to Police happened longer ago. At least, I mean, I listened. You know, definitely listened to Synchronicity, Ghost of the Machine. Well, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, you've listened to all those albums.
So I mean, you know, listening to Andy Summers and you know, and all the great Police songs.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I think everyone would admit are
beautiful.
Better probably than the solo work as a whole.
Yeah, I don't think.
I'm sure most people.
I don't know if anyone's arguing.
Yeah, I'm sure most people would say that.
What do you think?
They did their best work in the Police.
What is it?
Well, I mean, that's usually the way it is. I mean, anyway, but you know, I just going through Sting's records. You know, there's still others ahead of me. I like Side 2 a great deal. Side 2 is really good. Side 2 is a perfect mix of what the album is trying to do, I think. You know, We Work the Black Seam is a social commentary. It's well done.
Yeah.
It feels like a narrative.
Atmospheric.
It's a good
jazz. It's got a little jazzy thing.
Well, everything has a little, but I mean, it has more of a like a, I would say a folk narrative, but it definitely has something of that.
You're right. Yeah. It does unfold like that.
And it's got a certain it throws off a mood.
Mm-hmm. This whole album is moody.
Yes, it's definitely moody. And sometimes it's got like kind of jazzy kind of, you know,
jazz hot.
Yeah, a nice chill jazziness. Sometimes it's a kind of lugubrious, we're all gonna die kind of a thing.
Yeah. But here comes the missile.
No, but yeah, Side 2 I really like, and I obviously Fortress Around Your Heart is
perfect.
Is a great song.
Beautiful.
It is a great song. It really is. I really like Moon Over Bourbon Street. That is a really cool song. Reminds me of some of Joni Mitchell's songs from Take Your Pick.
Yeah.
Really.
No, it does. I picture Sting on a street corner under a lamppost.
Yeah.
With a hat.
Okay. No, I did not picture him with a hat.
That's exactly what I picture.
It's amazing how people can think different things.
I know, it's so funny. And we are usually like right on the same page. So, need that.
But yeah, I think that's an awesome song. A great feel. But Consider Me Gone is also a real. I really like that song a lot, and I just like how Side 2 develops.
Yeah.
You know, you have We Work the Black Seam, and then Consider Me Gone, then
the title track.
And
which
then
is cool.
Moon Over Bourbon Street.
I think Dream of the Blue Turtles is actually, it's only a little over a minute long. Mm-hmm. It's very chaotic.
I kind of wish they had done that more on the album. I think that would have been
Yeah.
even more interesting.
I think it's got such like an off-kilter thing, and so much of the rest of the album is so chill. And then
Yeah.
this little song toward the end just like pops in, and it's like so zany.
Yeah.
Um, interesting choice to keep it as like a little jazz interlude versus like more of a full-fledged song like the rest of the album.
This is an album where side 1 and side 2 are very interesting to me, because side 1 starts off quite peppy, and then with a nice, catchy, very reggae song, and then just kind of like stops.
Yeah,
Russians
is
a very slow paced, very on the nose.
It's so on the nose
song, and I don't really care for the lyrics. I know it's
he obviously made a choice to be extremely straightforward. There's no poetic allusions or anything there. I mean, it's exactly what he's talking about. It's a little too much for me. I can handle political stuff and the social justice stuff.
You can even listen to Meat is Murder, and
I can. So well, there's the thing, right? So also, the music just doesn't do it for me. So I can't ignore the lyrics.
Yeah.
Whereas on a song like
You can't.
where on a song like Children's Crusade, which also has a social aspect.
Yes. But
the music, I very much enjoy. I really like the melody of that song. I like the music. So
Children's Crusade, of course,
the lyrics aren't as.
It's lyrically far more interesting. I
Well,
mean, far
too.
more dynamic and substantial.
But
I think that song could have actually done with an extra verse.
I also think it's really interesting that Russians, of all the singles released from this album, Russians did the best in the UK, and Fortress Around Your Heart did the worst in the UK. It's very interesting.
I don't know how to explain that.
Fortress Around Your Heart reached number 8.
I mean, I know it was a hot topic.
Fortresses?
No,
Russians,
nuclear warfare.
Russians are coming.
Everything in the mid-'80s. But it's interesting considering how much that was on people's minds. I really don't want to hear some guy singing about it.
Exactly.
Unless
I still
it's
want
like
my rock and roll to be a little bit more of escapey.
That's probably the best one. Fight Fire with Fire.
Oh. True.
How about a nice game of chess? Right. Anyway,
the only way to win is not to play.
You just did it.
I did it with an accent.
You know, like he's Indian.
He's an Indian.
Hello.
He's not a computer IT guy.
Yeah. Strange game. The only way to win is not to play. How about a nice game of chess and juicy mangoes? Russians and Children's Crusade, I wouldn't have put back to back.
Well, that's the thing too. Yeah, the set list, not set list, but the song order could be a little bit.
Yeah, because side two is really very dynamic. It has songs that are more like narrative, a little bit more ballad-like, but then very jazzy songs. The catchiest song on the album. I mean, to some extent, the sides are almost inverse of each other. But because it starts with a very catchy song. But
me having listened to this for years on CD, that hurts this record. It really does, because you start with a banger, and then you have a lot of the middle bit, the whole album basically until the last song.
Yeah,
they can mush together
a
little too much when you don't have that time to flip that pause.
Yeah, I think if they had just moved Russians, or switched maybe the Dream of Blue Turtles.
Move the Russians.
Yeah, just get them out.
Yeah. Yes. Have the jazzy crazy song a little earlier to kind of.
I don't know.
Break things up.
But Russians, to me, I'm not a huge fan of the song anyway. That's all. So. That's the only thing on this album. Yeah. The rest of this album is really interesting. It just has a real mood, and
it does.
And the kind of jazziness that it actually does have is unique. It's cool. It's not over. There's no noodling. There's no jamming. Mm-hmm. It's all in the feel of it, and and it does have a wonderful rhythm. we could go through Sting's other solo records because honestly, there is not one that I've listened to all the way through.
Really?
Other than, I mean, this one. No, really, because like I said, I really just.
That's okay.
Just wasn't my thing.
And don't
so
apologize.
I'm not apologizing.
I know. You don't have to.
I won't.
Look at that face.
Sting.
No, look at that face.
You loved him.
I was gonna say something. Thank you so much for watching our brief discussion of Dream of the Blue Turtles. Let us know what you think of this album in the comments. Please like this video. Hit the subscribe button. Do all those things. We'll see you next time.